this Monday. Juliana Olayinka, my colleague from our London studios, is live to us from there. Juliana, good morning. The big news coming through is the UK PMI numbers and the Eurozone and all of that, but I know that's a big story there. I'm sure you're covering this for us. But again, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been having his ears pulled left and right from the business and the city community in London over the last election that he won convincingly and is moving to the next level of Brexit. So the key question being asked is, does the Prime Minister Boris Johnson means business?
Good morning, Boris. Yes, of course, he does. He does mean business. It's been, a long weekend for Boris Johnson. There have been several parties. But of course, there are several people that are wagging in his ear, none less than the business community. Of course, this landslide victory is exactly what the city wanted, which is why the pound, even during the campaign, was moving with the exit polls and the possibilities of him winning. But now, they are saying that they are expecting certain things for him recently, not just in Britain, but in America and across the Western region. There has been a different approach to big business. They're trying to soften capitalism, and several business leaders over the weekend, chief executives of FTSE 100 companies, are saying to Boris Johnson that they can see that with, the enlargement of the wealth gap, that he does need to deliver on his policy pledges, that of course they want investment in business. But what seems to be the key vocal point coming out of the city is that they want investment to trickle down to all. So that's very interesting. But of course, there are the traditional business lines. There are some fears about immigration policy, which is why one of the reasons why Boris Johnson was able to break the red wall in the north is because Brexit and immigration do go hand in hand. And there are some business leaders that are hoping potentially for a softer Brexit, so they're able to employ the best out of Europe. And also as well, the new relationship with Europe, they don't want that to be left out of the withdrawal agreement, which he will be able to rush through Parliament because he has such a large majority. They want to be clear on new trade relationships across the world, their new relationship with Europe, and also not a tough immigration stance.
Okay, a quick one here when it comes to two important aspects of living, which has to do with water and energy. What's this report that the water authorities, the regulator, wants to cut the rates, your water rates, Juliana, and while one of the energy supply companies got fined for overcharging customers?
Well, we'll take the water and the water supplies first. It's quite an interesting story, actually. Ofwat, they're the water regulator. Later today, they're due to release their long-awaited policy on just how much water companies can charge their customers. They want to put a cap on just how much they charge them, because over the past 18 months, particularly in London and in the southeast, there have been a series of quite scandalous headlines involving water companies. There's been lots of flooding. A lot of people have been, suggesting that these water companies are not putting in enough infrastructure, but they are making a lot of money. The water companies in the UK have been privatised for about 30 years, and the regulator really wants to justify the privatisation because of these scandals and just because of how much debt these water companies in, which is to the tune of £50 billion. And the water companies seem to be using this debt as a reason to not be, investing in infrastructure, but then they've paid out the equivalent in dividends to their shareholders. So, the water companies are not happy that Ofwat are really trying to, tackle this down and try and regulate the industry a lot more. So I think this story is going to ramble on. So we're expecting an update from Ofwat later today. And then if it doesn't go the way of the water companies, then there will be a complaint to the Competition and Markets Authority. Very quickly, as you were saying about the gas and energy supplier, January the 1st this year, the government put in a new policy, which was to cap just how much energy suppliers can charge their customers. There is an energy firm called iSupply. Let me just make sure I've got that right. Yes, iSupply were overcharging their customers, knowing that there was supposed to be this cap. They had overcharged them for about 6 months. A whistleblower in the company informed the regulators. So now 4,500 customers will be getting a refund of up to £1.5 million.
Okay, that's a lot of money. If you get any of that, just let me know. I might just send you a note to say, just look my way. I don't mind you energizing me
Okay.
with a bit of that. Quite a pile of money. 1.5 million pounds at this point. Quite some money.
It's a nice,
Okay. Let's talk about the
it's a
PMI
nice
data
amount
later.
just before Christmas.
I know. I know. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day. And I'm sure you'll be discussing the PMI
Thank you, Boris.
data with Chimezie Wagu on Business Incorporated at 1:30 in the afternoon. Everyone wants to be on standby for that big report. We'll try to drill down on that today, the big story out of the UK. If we switch gear and come back to our market space where the markets are, the fixed income space remain very interesting as we wrap up the year. So keep the conversation going with us as we talk to Gbenga Shoneke, who is the head of income fixed income dealer at Access Bank, is joining us from FMDQ Exchange Place to give us a sneak preview into the current trading week. Gbenga, good morning. Let's kickstart the week with you on the fixed income street. What is the outlook for the week in just about a minute or so?
Good morning. Nice to be here again. For the fixed income space, we expect relative activity. Um, is the season for during the season activity actually doing this a lot. There's going to be PMA auction on the T-bill side where CBN is offering just 7 billion. We don't expect much activity there. On the bond side, there's also a bond auction this week. CBN is offering 150 billion across all the channels. So we expect the bond space is very much of the focus to be on this week. That side has been bullish. We expect people to take in their demand to that auction, given that yields have been significantly low coming from the last bond auction. Yields on the bond market are 11.6% on the average across all tenors. So that's where the party is going to be this week.
Okay, in terms of when we have a Treasury's repayment on Thursday, would that play any significant role in terms of the liquidity that's on the market street?
Oh, so the liquidity in the market is pretty high, so that's just more liquidity coming in. CBN will conduct an home auction as expected, so we expect that should be maybe a net of about 200 or 300 billion net liquidity into the system. There's also the bond auction, we take out the debit as well, so that's about 150 billion on the bond auction. So pretty much we expect market to be quite, maybe just about 50 billion net liquidity into the system after the bond, T-bills, and home auction on Thursday.
Okay, great. Gbenga Shoneke, fixed income dealer at Access Bank. Thank you so much for coming through, raising the curtain on our debt market for the current week. Have a great day. Thank you so much.